Hey friends, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today we are going to learn primary technology for the web development. Before that, let me introduce myself first. So my name is Mohammad Rizwan Khan and I'm currently working as a software engineer at Paytm, right? So here I'm going to share all of my experience and knowledge about the web development. So you can do your own web development, you can create your own websites, softwares and everything, right? So let's start. So here in this video, we are going to learn HTML and CSS. There is one more primary technology, JavaScript. In the upcoming videos, we will learn about JavaScript, right? So there are only three primary technology for the web development. That's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Nothing else apart from that. Okay, so whatever you see on the internet, whatever the page you visit on the internet, it may be Google, it may be Facebook, Amazon, Flipkart, eBay, every website, every platform, you may think of it as a website, you may think of it as a web application, right? Everything is just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript in the front end, right? So before I start doing all the crazy stuff like doing writing HTML and CSS code, I would like to give you a quick introduction of the internet, how things work on the internet. So whatever page you visit on the internet, that's nothing but just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. If you see facebook.com, right? So if you see this page, that is again HTML, CSS, JavaScript. Even if you visit Amazon.com, that is again HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. If you visit Google.com, that is again HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, right? So how it happened, how it works, this is what I want to talk about, right? So your browser is actually the client. A browser is available in all operating systems, right? Browser is available in Android, in Linux machine, in Mac machine. So if you write an application using HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, that application will be accessible via all of these browsers, right? So this is an advantage we have. So let's see example of this google.com, right? So this browser is your client. The client is making requests to the Google server and Google server is sending back a response to the client, right? If you go right click over this screen and click on the inspect, right? And here you're going to see on the left side, on the right side, there is some tabs. There is a network tab, right? How it makes a request, this is what I want to show you, right? In a simplest term, right? No fancy and rocket science word that makes you confused, right? So here I'm just going to reload. I'm in my network tab. I just want to show you the request. Number of requests goes to the Google server and then Google sends back response to the client, right? So let me reload this page. And here you see this request start going to the Google server, right? It's already, so here the first request you can see there is www.google.com. This is the first request went to the Google server, and there is some other small sub tabs, right? You click on this header, and there you see the request URL is https www.google.com. So this is the request URL. This is what we are trying to hit, right? We are hitting this Google server, and the request method, if you see get, so any request go through your browser is always a get request. That's a common question. And the status code, if you see, that's a 200, means it is a successful response. 200 means okay. That whenever it is 200, it means it is successful request. You got the data successfully. And there are so many other information available over here, and we will be discussing all of these in the upcoming videos, in the advanced videos. But this video is all about talking HTML and CSS, right? In the next tab, if you see, there is a preview tab, right? If you click on this preview tab, so you are going to see the exactly similar thing what we have on the left side. So this is the Google home screen, right? And there is a Gmail and other options, search bar, exactly similar you see on the preview, but the image is broken, right? So this preview page cannot make a request. Instead, this page is making already the request for the image. So if you see on the left side, there is a request to the Google, and there is some other requests like a list of requests, right? So there are many requests. So some of them are for the fonts, some of them are for images, right? Different requests for different resource, right? So, and the preview after, if you see the response of this particular request, right? So the preview of this particular request is this one, google.com. If you see the response, there you can see the HTML and CSS code, right? So this is what we got from the Google server as a response, right? So this is nothing but your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript code, right? So this code is minified version of the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, all of them together combined and minified, remove all the additional spaces and comments, right? And this is something like you cannot read, right? So if you want to read it, if you seriously want to read it, there's an option on your browser in the bottom. You see there's an option like pretty print. If you click on this pretty print option, then you are gonna see some changes over here. And yeah, so now it is pretty form. So this is looking pretty, right? So here we have our doc type HTML, then we have HTML, then we have head, then we have meta tags, then title. So this is just all HTML, JavaScript, and CSS, right? This is a bundled all of them together, right? So this is your HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Likewise, if you go Facebook, if you go for Amazon, everywhere is just HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. You may heard of many things like jQuery, React, Angular, Vue. Those are not primary technology for the web development. Just keep in your head, those are not primary technology for the web development. There are only three primary technology for the web development. That's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And the things like jQuery, React, Angular, Vue, those are all are libraries and frameworks written on the top of JavaScript, right? So those are written on the top of JavaScript, written with the help of JavaScript, right? Not part of the web development. If you learn those things, you can increase the productivity of the software development. That's all. So let's continue with the coding. Okay, now let's continue with HTML, right? What's an HTML? HTML is hypertext markup language. Now, I'm telling you, most of the people don't know what's hypertext and what's markup language. So do not worry, I will tell you in this video, right? So let's first understand what is HTML used for. So HTML is used for building the structure and layout of your page. The page you're thinking in your head, the page you want to build, HTML is going to help you to create the layout and structure for that page, right? Now, after creating that layout and structure of your page, you obviously need a designer, you need a stylist, right? Because your structure and layout will not look beautiful, and if you want to make it look beautiful, then you need a stylist. And here we have our stylist, that's CSS, Cascade Style Set. So CSS is going to help us to apply the design in our layout, in our structure, right? So for that, what we are going to use, we are going to use VS Code. So here I would like to suggest you to install the VS Code. You can simply go to the Google Chrome, and if you don't have VS Code or any other text editor, I still suggest you to install the VS Code because it is going to help you in faster code, right? So simply type VS Code and it is going to give you a link. And here is the VS Code link. Just click on this link, and it is getting load. And here you're gonna see a page like that, and here you have a download option. So this VS Code is an open source software available for all platforms. So after downloading this, you can start using it. And let's close this. That's enough. And after installing your VS Code, you're gonna see something like that. So this is the interface for the first time user, right? And it is saying part time. Okay, now what we have to do, we have to create a folder, right? So here you have an option like open, and you can open a folder if you already have a folder in your system. I don't have, or I have. Yeah, I have the folder. Where is that folder? Desktop 2021 and YouTube. Yes. So here I'm going to create a new folder. So I will simply name it like HTML CSS. So we are going to learn HTML CSS. Let's create this folder, and now let's open this folder. And now our project folder is ready. So we can start writing our HTML code. Let's increase the size of it. And here our folder, as you can see, HTML CSS. Now let's create our first HTML file. So to create an HTML file, you need to write a file name with an extension .html. Let's create the file. I will say what's name, right? Let's say 01, not 01. Let's say any name, it would be fine, like first html.html. So file name with .html extension, then your HTML file got created, right? So now what we are going to do here, we are going to write our first HTML document. So I will simply say h1, and I'm sure if you're using HTML first time, you don't know what I have just written, but do not worry, I will tell you. Welcome to my so bad channel. So this is our the first HTML document. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Now let's save this, and now you can explore this file. So reveal in Finder, and you can do the Explorer for Windows user, right? You just have to open this file somewhere, right? So you can open this file in the browser, and and here you will go right click on it, and so yeah, so this is our file got loaded, and you see, welcome to my YouTube channel. Yay, we have created our first HTML document, and we have created our first web page as well. Inspect this thing, right click and click on the inspect, and on the left side you see there is an option like elements, console, source, network, and all those stuff. So inside the elements you see there are some structure: HTML head, body. Inside this body, okay, bad. Inside this body we have our h1 tag. This is what we have just written. So we should be thankful to the browser, because browser has done 90% work for us, right? So here browser has added HTML head, body for us, and then after browser has injected our h1 tag inside the body tag, so it will be a complete HTML document, not just partial documents, right? So it's a good practice to write always a complete HTML document, because you may have to write a title, you may have to add a style sheet, you may have to script. So all of these things you may have to enter in some special places, right? Let's say if you want to update this title, here you see on the screen first HTML.html, the title is not looking good, right? See my cursor. If you want to update this title, then you have to write the title, and that title goes inside the head tag. So what you have to do, you have to create a proper HTML document. Let's create a proper HTML document first. Let's say HTML, and let's close this. Let's create the head tag, and inside this head tag, we'll add a title tag. Title, and here's the title, and we'll say HTML CSS training, right? Training, and here we'll copy this h1 and we'll paste inside this body tag. Okay, now let's save this stuff, and let's go to the browser again and reload, and you see the title of the document got updated. It is now HTML CSS training. So this is how we can update the title. Also you can see in the DOM tree there's a title update, right? Okay, that's what we have just learned. But this isn't enough. The question was, what is hypertext and what's a markup language, right? So if you want to add comments in your document, what you have to do, you just have to simply say, now if you want to write a comment within your document, okay, and that comment you want to ignore by the browser, so you have to write a comment like that. You have to write an angle bracket, exclamatory sign, double hyphen, space, double hyphen, and closing angle bracket, right? Inside this block, if you write anything, that will be ignored by the browser. Browser is not going to pass that thing, because that is not considered as a valid tag, right? As a valid element of the document, right? So whatever we write over here, that will be ignored. And let's say HTML, it is hypertext markup language, right? Let's save this, go back to the document browser window and reload, and you see that thing will be ignored, right? So now let's understand what's an hypertext and what's a markup language. Okay, so hypertext, let's first understand hypertext. So hypertext are just like any other text, reference to another section of the text, reference to another section of the text or document, right? So hypertext are basically the text reference to another section of the text or the document. If you want to see the live example, just go and just do anything, write anything, and see what happens. So you're going to see a page, right? So this is the web page, and here we have a text, and this is nothing but an hypertext, because this has a link, this has a connection to another page. If you click on this page, this will navigate to the another page, another document, right? So this text is called hypertext, and in this page there are many hypertext like download, updates, docs, VS Code, Python. So all of these texts are hypertext, and the hypertext got created by using hyperlinks, and we will see very soon how we can create an hyperlinks, right? So these texts are called hypertext. And now why the term markup language? Markup language, right? So markup means so annotating of the document, means adding extra information to the document, right? In this document, in this HTML file, you see we have written welcome to my YouTube channel. This is just an ordinary text, but we are marking up this text with h1 tag, right? So this h1 tag giving an extra information how this text is going to look in the screen, in the display, right? This is called marking up. So the whole together combinedly called HTML, hypertext markup language. Now you have got answer, right? Why it is called a hypertext markup language. Next thing, we're going to understand the types of elements within the HTML document. So types of HTML in HTML, oh sorry, types of element in HTML document, right? So there are two types of document. Types of elements in HTML document, and here we have two types of elements. The first one is the block level elements, and the second one is the inline elements. Inline elements. If you want to see the example of block level elements, the block level elements are div, section, aside, h1, and h1 to h6, paragraph, and there are many more elements, right? If you are hearing all of this thing first time, just do not worry. I will let you know in this document only, okay, in this HTML only. Inline elements are basically a, that's an anchor tag, and with the help of a we can create a hypertext, and then we can add a hyperlink, a connection to another document. Then we have img tag, so this tag used for adding the image. Then we have span tag, just for a small text or something inline you want. And there are tags like I, B for bold, and there are many more, right? So just give an etc, because I even don't remember all of the tags, right? If there is anything that I don't know, just I can simply do the Google, right? So these are the tags. Now we are going to create a simple HTML document. We are going to create a profile for us. So here we're going to say what, let's say I want to create an h1. We already have, yeah, let's create profile for us. So h1 is going to be my name, this one Khan. We're creating a document for us, right? JavaScript. So this is the first document we have created for us, right? Now it's time to render this document. Let's go and render this document. And here we have got our first document, and it is looking not very beautiful. Okay, so here we have Rizwan Khan, and this is about me. This is my education, computer science. This is my profession, software engineer, company premium, and these are my skills. So this is what we have created with the help of HTML. Now in this document, we need to understand what are the block level elements and what are the inline elements. Okay, so if you click on this inspector tool, on the right side you see there is an inspector tool. Click on this inspector tool, and here you see hover information. If you hover over the content, you can see the information about the content, right? So this is a p tag, and this is an education. So this feature is available in the Chrome browser, right? Yeah, let's come back to the point, block level elements. So for the block level elements takes the complete space, takes the complete width of the available window, right? So this is the available window in my screen, and it's taking the complete width, but not the height. Height is only the required, and it has the additional styling. So as you can see, the yellow space out of the around the blue line, this is a blue strip, and around it you can see the little yellow space. That's the margin, right? So the margin is by default with the h1 tag, and it is not just with h1 tag, but it is also with other tags like h2, h4, 5, 6, and with paragraphs, with list. So all those tags, there are additional margins, right? And if you want to avoid remove those margins, then you have to remove it forcefully. And see the another p tag, that is again a block level element and taking the complete space, complete width, and the required height. And likewise there is an education taking the complete width. So all of these are block level elements, right? If you hover on any one of them, you can see it's taking the complete space, right? So that's the identity. It is a block level element. And if you want to see the inline element, you just go to your browser, and yeah, you go over here, and here you see I've created a list for us, right? So instead of creating ul and li tags, I can create I can use inline elements if I want to show in one line all of my skills with comma separated, right? I can simply say paragraph, and I will simply say paragraph. Within this paragraph, I will say span, and here will say HTML. So this is an inline element. Span is an inline element, and here will say CSS, and then we'll say span again, and we'll say JavaScript, right? And if you want to add a comma, you can add the comma as well. Okay, save, and let's go back and let's reload. And here you see the things are coming in a single line. It's because inline elements only acquire the required space, the space required for the content. So this HTML not required the whole width, this required only this much, right? This much space. And given the span, it's giving the color and all those things. You hover on this. But this all three inline elements is inside a block level element. That's a p tag, and that is saying the complete space. Okay, so you need to understand the flow of the document like this. So this was all about the block level and inline elements. Now we are gonna see the styling part, right? How we can style our document. We can use different style selectors, right? So let's create another document. Here we're gonna say selectors.html, okay, or I will give a proper name like css-selectors.html, right? So our file got created, CSS selector select, and if you're using VS Code, you can simply type HTML:5, and then it will give you the full complete template, right? So the whole template is available over here. It has some meta tags, and I will tell you what's the meta tag, but just now do not worry about it. Okay, so here we have a title, and again here we're going to say HTML CSS training, and next we have a body. Inside this body we're going to add some contents, right? So I'm gonna pick my stuff over from here, some of the stuffs like this one, copy and paste inside the CSS selector, and let's save this. And let's also have h1. Let's say this one. Save, and let's reveal this document in your system over there. Yeah, so we have our CSS selector just created. Now let's double click on it, and it is reloaded. So here we have got our content, like all those information. We have just created a file with name CSS-selectors, right? Let's close this window, and let's go to the VS Code, and here I'm gonna put my styling, right? So you can put the styling anywhere else. It's not a thing like mandatory to some in some special places. Yeah, so you can write over here, and you can put the styling over here, right? So let's say I want to style the body. I will simply say background color is red. Let's save this content, and let's reload over here, and you see the background is now red color. Okay, so you can put your style tag anywhere else, but it's always a good thing to have your style in the head tag. The reason is your style tag will be rendered or parsed first before all of your HTML document. Otherwise, if you put your style tag after the document, like somewhere here, then all of your HTML tags will be rendered without a style, and everything will look bad. Once the style parsed completely, then only you can see the change in design, right? So it's always a good practice to have a style in the head of the document. So it will load first, right? The style will be loaded first. Now let's remove this thing from here. It was just a testing. See, now we are going to see different types of selector in CSS. Different types of selectors, right? The first one we're gonna see universal selector. The notation is asterisk. You type this asterisk. This is called selector, right? So it has two parts. First part is the selector, and the second part is the CSS declaration. That's curly braces. So within this curly braces, you're going to write CSS rules for your selector. So asterisk universal selector means selects everything. Selects everything, right? So this universal selector is going to basically select all of your elements available in the document, right? And whatever the style CSS rule we're going to write over here will be applied in all the elements. right? So we'll say margin 0, right? Now let's save this document. Let's go to the browser, and you see right now we have a Rizwan Khan with the space around it, right? Additional spaces which I have not applied. With education, there is an extra space. Every bit of text has space around it, right? And I have just given a selector, like universal selector. So it is going to select all of your elements within the document and apply the margin 0. So let's just reload this thing, and you see everything, all of the spacing, extra spacing got removed, and there is no extra spaces, right? Next, we're gonna see type selector. Type selector are basically used to select a particular element with the name, right? So you can specify a name like h1, and this is the name of the element, and this is the block of the CSS code, and here we are going to write CSS rules. So I will say h1 will have a margin from top. So margin top will be like 10 pixels, so it will create a space of 10 pixel from the top of h1. Okay, save, and let's go and let's reload this stuff, and see now there is a space. If you inspect, you can see there is an extra space. Inspect, and so you see there is an extra space of 10 pixel. The yellow, you see over the yellow line there is a 10 pixel of yellow line, right? That's a space we just created. Okay, let's go to the VS Code again. So this is how we use type selector. You can use a paragraph. I can say the color is going to be indigo. Color is indigo. Save. All the paragraph will have now indigo color. You see the colors are now indigo. With June, you can see the colors are now indigo, right? So this is how we use type selector. Okay, next we are going to see class selector. Okay, so it's a class selector. The syntax for class selector is you have to use a dot and then class name and then CSS rule, right? So how we can write a class? You have to select any element. Let's say I'm gonna select this podium, right? We'll say class equals to company, class company. Let's copy this class name, and let's class name will be over here. So this is the dot with the class name, and here I'm gonna say the color of this text will be sky blue or blue. Okay, yeah, blue color, and font size will be 20 pixel. Okay, let's save this. Let's go and reload your document. You see the size of this text is 20 pixel, and the color is blue. So this is called type selector. You can select any element. This is called class selector. You can create multiple elements, and you can have a class name to those elements, and then you can apply the CSS rule for that particular element, right? Next, we're gonna see ID selector. ID selector. So ID selector, let's have ID equals to like oh, let's apply ID on this paragraph. ID equals to a profession. So ID is profession, right? Let's copy this thing, and like ID is used with hash, class used with dot. So ID and name of the ID, it's profession, and now the CSS rule will simply say color is going to be green, and font size is going to be like 30 pixel. Okay, save this. 30 pixel is the font size. Let's reload this stuff, and see the size of this software engineer is now 30 pixel. The color is green. So this is how we use ID selector in our in our HTML document, right, with the help of CSS. Next, we're gonna see attribute selector. Okay, attribute selector. So how attribute selector works? Let's say we have input, say input, and type is going to be text. So this input box is used to get the text, get the input from the user, right? So input text, and name equals to going to be like a user name. Okay, and let's also have a placeholder for it. Placeholder, it's going to be like enter user name. So this is going to give us an input box where user can enter the username. Now let's save this. Now let's reload, and here you see we got an input box with a username, and we can type something, right? So here I'm gonna use my attribute selector. So let's use input, and attribute selector work with square bracket. So you can take this input and the type. I can use any of the attribute like this type, name, placeholder. Let's use name instead of type. We'll say name, and the name is username. Okay, so the name is username. Now the CSS rules. I will simply say a CSS rule will be border. Let's remove the border. We simply say none and save. Now let's reload and now there is no border, right? So border is not there, but when I'm clicking, when I'm doing focus, then there is a highlighted blue line outline, right? So we can remove the outline by using outline property. So this is outline property, and the value of this outline property will be none because I don't want any outline. Also, let's try and reload this stuff. And here you see there is no highlight anymore. It's just a text. Now let's add a border. I would like to add a border from bottom. For the bottom, we'll say 1 pixel solid indigo. Okay, let's save this and let's go and reload this stuff. And here you see the input kind of look like a mobile version. You can enter something, right? Also, you can change the text color. You simply say color blue, or instead blue, we'll say indigo. Save this. Also, let's increase the font size, 20 pixel, and let's add a width as well. So these all are the CSS property. We can add a width 200 pixel, and let's also add a height, let's say 30 pixel. Okay, let's save this and let's reload the document. You see, now enter username and I can add my name. Okay, so this is how we style the input. Okay, so this is looking nice. If you want, you can change the bottom like around 2 pixel instead of 1. Go and reload and see now it is 2 pixel. You can write anything. Okay, looking nice. So this is how we use attribute selector. Next we are gonna see grouping selectors. Okay, so how we can group the selectors. The grouping selector. So grouping selector means you can have two elements with the same class or different class. It doesn't matter. Let's say I'm having let's say I want to create a box, right? I'll simply say class equals to box1, and let's create one more class. I will say box2. Okay, save this box1 and box2. Let's create this box with the help of CSS. Background indigo. Let's reload, and you see there is a box, right? There is a box, 100 pixel width and height, and the background color is indigo, right? So grouping selector means I want the same CSS rule for my box2 as well, right? So instead of writing the same CSS code, repeating the same CSS code again, I will simply say dot comma. I will use a comma to add one more class, and dot box2. Okay, that's how we use that's how we do the grouping, right? Now let's go and reload, and now there is another box but no spacing around it. So let's add a margin of 5 pixel. Okay, margin 5 pixel. Now let's reload, and you see there is a space now, and these two have the same CSS styling, right? CSS rule, and we are doing grouping over here. So you can add a comma and you can add n number of CSS classes, right? Also, let's say I don't want my box to be indigo, right? So we can simply we don't have to rewrite all of this code, right? Because as just we want background color orange. Let's say I will simply say box2, and the background color, that is going to be like orange or green or whatever is fine. So I don't have to write the width, height and margin because they are already available in this CSS property, and this box2 will inherit all of these properties, right? And it will inherit background color as well, but as we have written this background, so it is going to be overridden by our directly applied background color. Okay, let's go and reload. So here see the background color is orange, but it has the same width, height and everything, right? If you go and inspect the item, and you see box 2 has only the background color orange color, and the existing CSS is get overridden, right? So you can see a line through this, means it is not getting applied over this one. Okay, so this is called grouping selector. Next, we are going to learn about combinators. Combinators, right? So in CSS, there are different types of combinators. Let's discuss about them. So combinators, and here the first type will be descendant selector. Descendant selector basically used with uh, space. Descendant selector used with space, right? So it requires nothing but an space. Let's say you want to have a let's say you'll have an UL, right? Let's say UL, use a class that is going to be like list. Class name is list, and descendant selector, right? We are going to use descendant selector. So we'll use the class name dot list and a space and then li tag, right? So inside this li tag, we are going to specify the color. We'll say color. We'll simply say hot pink. Hot pink color. Now save, and let's go and reload the document. And here see we got skills with the hot pink color, and it by default it has some spacing around it, and this bullets, it's because of by default there is bullet with li tags attached. If you want to remove that, you can simply say let's remove it, like you can say not here. Let's use the universal selector because we may use many other lis, ul and lis, right? So we have to remove the padding from it, right? Inside the ul there is a padding. We'll simply say padding 0. And for the list, if you want to remove the bullets from the list, you'll simply say list style, that is going to be none. Save, and let's reload, and you see okay, it's getting reload, and now the style got removed, bullets got removed, and it is simple hot pink color. Okay, let's go to the VS Code editor. This is the descendant selector. Now we're going to see the example of child selector. Child selector. Child selector are same like descendant selector, except it only targets the direct children of the element. Okay, and for that we use angle bracket. So let's take the same example list, and here we're gonna say instead of li I will say ul again, and inside this ul I will say again li, and here we'll write some like html 1.0 or li html 2.0 save, right? So this time li is not direct children of list, right? Let's save this, let's go, and let's reload this thing. Is the html 1.0, html 2.0 applied? It's because of descendant selector, right? Because descendant selector targets all the lis, right? So here if you see, the li is the children of this direct or indirect children of this list, right? But child selector only targets the direct child of the element. Okay, so let's apply the font size for the child selector. We'll say list and angle bracket, and here we'll say li. So this is, I'm going to target only the children, only the direct child of list. Okay, here we'll say font size, that is going to be like 30 pixel. Okay, save this, let's go and reload this stuff. And here you see the HTML says JavaScript HTML font size now 30 pixel, but HTML 1.0 and 2.0 font size is not 30 pixel because HTML 1.0 and HTML 2.0 is not direct children of list class, right? So this is how we use descendant selector and child selector. Next, we're gonna see the example of general sibling selector. Okay, general sibling selector, general sibling selector. Here what happens, you can the operator is plus, basically you can use a plus symbol to select the particular element, right? Here we have in a list, and let's apply a class over this list. Class equals to item, right? So if you use this item, and we are going to use general sibling selector, here we'll simply say dot list. So basically the thing is, what we want to do, we want to select the sibling, right? We know the class name of this element and we want to select the sibling, right? Whenever we found an element with the class item, we will try to select the sibling of that particular item, right? So let's go and try that. So we'll say list, and inside this list we have an li, and plus the sibling selector, right? We want to select the plus. So here li, yeah, li has a class item. So here we are gonna simply say list with the class. Then we have an item class, right? This one. I'm talking about this one. And then we will select this. Okay. So let's go and use a plus symbol, plus, and then li. And here we're gonna say color. That is going to be, or not color. We have already used the color. Here we're gonna say again the font size. Let's say 40 pixel. Okay, let's go and save. Go and reload the page, and here you see the size of CSS is getting is bigger than the size of HTML, right? Also, let's try to apply the color. I think we can try the color as well. We'll say color red, save, and let's reload this stuff, and you can see the color of this particular element is red, right? This is how we can select the sibling of a particular element. If you know the class name, then you can select the sibling of that sibling around it, right? So this class list have childrens, and these childrens are sibling to each other, and we know the class name this item, so we can select the siblings. Now what if I want to select all the siblings, not just one which is just adjacent to it, right? So I can use adjacent sibling selector, right? The another one is adjacent, hold on this one. Adjacent sibling selector. Here I'm gonna say simply again the list and dot item. We know the item class, right? And instead of using plus, we'll use this tilde symbol, li, and then here we're gonna say here let me write this notation of it. This is a tilde. Okay, here we're gonna say again the font size. Uh, let's say the font size 60 pixel, okay, and the color is going to be the green. Okay, now go and reload the page, and here you see except HTML, that's our target element, right? And we are selecting the adjacent siblings. So adjacent siblings are CSS, JavaScript, and HTML, but not others, right? Because those are not li, those are, what is that, those are ul, right? So this is the target element, and all the sibling got selected, right? If you use that, if you use this adjacent sibling selector. So this is all about combinators in CSS. Now we are going to learn different CSS. Now we are going to talk about pseudo selectors, right? Pseudo selectors are very important for the projects, right? So let's create a file and give it a name like pseudo selectors.html. Hit enter, and yeah, pseudo selectors files are ready. Again, we're going to use HTML snippet from VS Code, and here we're going to say HTML CSS training. Now we are going to understand pseudo selectors. So there are two types of pseudo selectors. Okay, so there are two types of pseudo selectors. Pseudo selectors, and I should write over here. Pseudo selectors. So there are two types of pseudo selector. The first one is the class pseudo selector, and the another one is the element pseudo selector. Class pseudo selector lets you modify the state of the element, right? So we'll see the example of it. So modify the state of the element. Okay, so here let's have anchor tags, right? Let's create a nav and within this nav we'll add some anchor tags like within li, right? So I want to create, if you're already using VS Code, there are some shortcut and tricks. Let's say I want to create 3 links, or 4 links. Simply say 3, and I want to add anchor tag within that link. I'll say a, and here you see we got li's under the a, under the nav tag, right? Here I can specify the links like let's say google.com, and here I can say facebook.com, next I can say Instagram or YouTube, youtube.com, and here I'm also going to put my links https www.google.com. Next we're going to add https www.facebook.com, and again we're going to add https www.webscript.info. Okay, not YouTube, we'll say webscript. Okay, webscript.info. Okay, and here we have our pseudo selector. Just double click on it and this page got loaded. So here we have pseudo selectors, example of pseudo selectors, right? So these are the 3 elements, and these are basically hypertext with hyperlinks. So if I will click on this google.com, it will navigate to some other document. If I click on facebook.com, it will navigate to some other document. I will show you something interesting. Let's add one more element, right? Let's add one more element, and I will say some random text, right? Something, and here I will simply say blah blah blah.com, save, go and reload. And here you see why I have added that extra element. I will let you know over here. The color of this is blue, right? The above 3 also the blue color, right? But the color is bit different compared to this something. So this something blue is more lighter than this. It's because the current state of this element is, it is like not visited yet, but the google.com, facebook.com and webscript.info is already visited elements, right? So if we have already visited google.com in this browser, right? Facebook also visited many times in this browser. Webscript.info I have visited many times in this browser, right? But this particular element is new to this browser, right? We haven't visited in the history, right? So if I will click on this, that is the one state representing, right? So this is the one form of state. The different colors shows you like what is the current state of this particular element, right? Now the another state, if you want to modify, right, if you want to modify the state of a particular element, what you have to do is go and, yeah, here we're gonna say, let's say I want to choose anchor tag a, and how we write pseudo classes by using colon symbol, and then we can use things like active, right? So the active, so this is an active pseudo class, and when a link will be active, I will change the color of it. I will change the color of it to the Indian red, right? And also I will make the font size different, like 20 pixel. Okay, let's save this and see what change we're gonna see. So we are basically modifying the state of the element, right? So right now none of the element is in active mode. How we can make any of them active, right? We just have to click on it and hold there. So click and don't leave your mouse, and you can see the change. The right now the google.com is in Indian red color and the font size is 20 pixel. Just leave your mouse and then leave. Right now back to the normal. Now it is not active. So if you click and hold there, it is in active state. Leave the mouse and it is not in active state. And something is in the blue color because it is not visited yet. If you try to visit this, what is going to happen? If this website will exist, then you will be visited successfully. Otherwise it will be failed to visit, and the color of that element will still be in the same color what it was before, right? So you can never visit because this is this website doesn't exist. Okay, so there is one, this is called pseudo classes. We can modify the state of the element. Next, if I will say a, I will say link. This is another pseudo class. So if you don't want that blue color, right, if you want to change the color of it, you'll simply say the color will be red from now onwards. So all the links with pseudo class link will be in red color, right? Go and you see the red color. But the google.com and facebook.com and webscript.info is in the same color because the state of this right now is a visited, right? It's a visited state. So what if you want to change that one to, you can simply say a dot visited. So all the visited links will be in red color, right? So let's go and save now. And now the google.com, Facebook and website, everything is in red color because all of them are visited and we have given all the visited will be red, or you can change this. So all the visited from now onwards will be indigo color. Okay, let's reload. Now it is not, yeah. So if I will visit something.com, then it will be indigo color, but yeah, Indian red, sorry, it's an Indian red color. Let's add indigo color. Indigo save. Now let's reload. Now all of them are now indigo because all of the visited link will be indigo color, right? Now there is another pseudo class like a dot. We have used link pseudo class. There is a link, any link. So any link, what is going to do is going to apply the same color for all of them. Let's say pink, okay, or maybe green. We have used pink a lot. So let's say reload and you see everything is green. Now let's see an interesting real-time example, okay? So yeah, just comment this code, okay? And here I'm gonna say div JavaScript, okay? Now here we're gonna say hash. So href, we are specifying the, we are modifying the hypertext. Here we're saying HTML. Here we're gonna say CSS, and here we're gonna say JavaScript, right? So these are the, I have created a reference. So if I will click on this HTML tag, then this will be the target, right? Because it has an ID HTML. If I will click on CSS, then this will be the target because it has an ID of CSS, like this for JavaScript, right? Let's save this and let's see the output of it. And here we go. Let's reset this thing. Okay, so we got this thing. Let's change the title, at least CSS, and then we are gonna make this title as JavaScript. Save, reload. Now we got HTML, CSS, and JavaScript, and we have got all our links. That's coming in a single line. So it's because it should be in one line. Save this. Now let's reload this stuff, and we got the HTML, CSS, JavaScript in one line, right? Now this is the block level element. Okay, if you click on this HTML, you see on the URL there is a change, hash HTML. Now there is hash CSS and there is hash JavaScript, right? So what I want to do, I want to write a pseudo CSS pseudo class. When I will select this HTML, then this HTML will be highlighted. Okay, so what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use this HTML. So here I'm going to add a common class that is going to be for our target because all ID is unique, right? So here I'm gonna say content. Class name is content. Let's copy this content class and paste over here, and also paste over here. Save. Now we have a common class among all the contents, right? And we're gonna write a pseudo class for that. We'll say content, and then we'll use a pseudo class like target, right? So target, and if a particular target got clicked or clicked, then we'll highlight something. So we'll highlight that. Let's say we'll say the background color is going to be indigo. Okay, save. Now go, and now let's reload. Click on this HTML, CSS, JavaScript not working. Okay, it's not working. It's because of spelling wrong. So it's actually content. Copy, and we'll replace this content. Now it is correct. Save this. Go and reload. And you see the JavaScript right now highlighted. And when a particular element got highlighted, we'll also change the text color. We'll say color is going to be white. Right? Save this. Let's go and reload. And you see the JavaScript in blue, white color. Let's select the CSS. The CSS highlighted JavaScript, highlighted HTML highlighted now. So this is how we we use the target class. This is a real time example, right? This is how it works. This is the pseudo class. Now we're gonna see there is another special pseudo class, the focus. Okay, so we're gonna see that focus as well. So here let's go to our first -html, and where is that? CSS selectors, CSS selectors. Let's go and reload that stuff. CSS selector, let's reload, and there's an input box with the name, right? So what we're gonna do when we focus, then we'll change this blue color to the something else, right? We'll simply say input, and here we'll say, or I type, yeah, we'll use the attribute, and here we'll say text. So this is an attribute selector. When it is focus, this is another pseudo class. When it is focus, then we'll change the border bottom, that is going to be like 2 pixel solid orange color. Okay, and initially we'll keep this color to CSS selector file, right? Let's reload this and focus. Now it is an orange color. As you can see, if I will focus on it, the border bottom is an orange color. Okay, the text will be as it is. So we already have the styling for that input, right? You remember we have used attribute selector that time. We have given styling for this content, right? And now we are just using the focus pseudo selector to change the border color. Here this text doesn't need to be in double quotes. You can also write with text or with quotes or without quotes. That's totally fine. You just reload and verify the change. Go and type something. You see focus, after the focus the color of this border is orange color. So this is the useful pseudo selector. That's a focus. Now we're gonna see another example. Okay, we'll see another example. We'll use something like check boxes. Okay, say input and type, that is going to be like radio button. Okay, radio button, and here we'll add our text like mail, and we'll use div to create a block level element, right? Let's put it here. Let's cut it from here and paste over here. Now let's repeat this one. Copy and paste. This is going to be female, right? Male and female. Let's save, go and reload. You see there we have got two options, male and female. What I want, yeah, the first problem is we have to get rid of this double selection. Either male or female should be selected. For that we have to give a unique name to it. We'll say gender, and here also we'll say name equals to gender. Save this. Let's go and reload this. Now try male, either male or female. Now both are selecting still. Okay, input type radio, yeah, that's wrong, that's name. Now reload and test this again. So this is male and this is female, right? Okay, well my scenario is I want to add a span. That's an inline element because I want to add just a check symbol just in front of the male, right? So we'll simply search a symbol for it. We'll say check symbol hex code. You type check symbol hex code, and then you're gonna see some symbols. The website you can visit alt-codes, but here our check symbols hex code is here. Let's copy this and paste inside the span. Copy, save. Let's go and CSS. Yeah, reload here. And you see there is a check symbol, right? So this check symbol I also want a space. So I'll simply create a space by using hex code ampersand NBSP, means non-breaking space. This is how you create a space between the text and element. Here we are just going to repeat this thing. Copy and paste over here. Save. Let's go and reload. Now there is another check symbol and it has space as well. Now the scenario is, the case is, if male is selected then only you will see the check symbol. If female is selected then only you'll see the check symbol, not by default. So initially, first case is we have to remove the check symbol using the style. So let's go, and here we have an input type radio. We'll simply say input and type, that is going to be a radio, or you can also use the name attribute. And here I'm going to select the siblings, right? So we'll use the plus and then a span because the symbol is inside the span tag. And here we're going to say display, that is going to be none. Save. Now see the first case pass or not. yeah, the check symbol got removed. Now the another case is when I will click, then only it is going to apply. Now another pseudo class we will be using uh, input, and here we'll say type. That is going to be radio again, right? Radio. And here we'll use the pseudo class that's checked. And once checked class applied, then we'll use plus and span the target, and the sibling is the target, right? And we'll say display block save. So I have told you there are two types of elements: inline elements and block level elements. Okay, now select the mail, and you see there is a check symbol, but it is not as per the expectation. It is working functionally, it is working fine, but not per as the expectation from the UI point of view. So it's because I have given a block label, right? So I don't want it to be block. Instead, I want inline element. Say display inline. Let's reload this and let's try now. Yay, it's working. So male, female, we have passed our cases, right? The next thing we're going to learn about, uh, element pseudo selector, right? So element pseudo selector, examples of element pseudo selectors are this colon colon before, or not that, colon colon after, and colon colon first line, and there are tons of examples available, so we'll just try this one. Let's have a paragraph. Let's create a paragraph over here. Simply say div, and here we'll write lorem, or instead div I will use a p tag, p, or let's use div, and here we'll use p tag, and let's add the lorem text. Okay, so this is lorem text, and let's add a class as well. So here we'll say a paragraph, p-a-r-a, para, that's for the paragraph. And now what we're going to do, we're going to use pseudo selector. We'll simply say dot para, and here we'll use we are going to use the pseudo element, that is the first letter. Okay, so this is the pseudo element first letter, and here we're going to say font size is going to be 60 pixel. Okay, save this and see the output. Okay, so where is that? Oh, not this one, instead this one. Let's reload this thing, and you see the size of this L is 60 pixel, and other text are as it is. So the element is also let you allow to modify the particular part of the element instead of the whole element. Okay, this is a pseudo selector. There is another example of the pseudo selector. We are gonna see that's again. Let's not use para. Uh, let's create another class. Inside this, we'll say p tag, and here we are going to say again the lorem text, and we are going to say class equals to para -1. Oh, I hate this. Para -1, and here we're going to use the pseudo elements like para -1, and here we're going to say what I can say, like before, right? So before I can add a content, so I can add a symbol, I can add anything, whatever I want. Let's say I want to add this symbol, angle bracket. Okay, and save this, and let's go and check this thing out. And here you see the lorem text is getting started, but before that there is a symbol, the angle bracket, right? You can also add a space like a margin from right 10 pixel, and of course we need to add a semicolon over here as well. Reload, and you see now there is a space as well. So this is how we can add special symbols. If you want to add, we can search some hex code to add, right? This is a before. Likewise we can add after as well, and first line also, like let's say the para -1 colon first hyphen line, that is going to be first line, and you're going to say the color of the first line will be green. Okay, so if it is multiple line, then the color of the first line will be green. Reload, and you can see the color of the first line is green, but the second line is in the black color. So these are the pseudo elements I'm talking, right? These all are the pseudo select. So we have now learned almost all types of selector in CSS. Now we are going to see some special feature of CSS. So here we're going to see, I'm going to show you what's specificity. 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 So specifically is actually the weight of the CSS. Weight of the CSS declaration. So weight of the CSS declaration. Yeah. Do you remember we have a links? Let me show you. Yeah. So anchor text. So uh, here we have given some colors code based on the state, right? And then lastly we have given this any length, and everything now becomes green, right? Everything is visible green. So it's because the weight of this CSS is higher than the previous one. Okay, it's coming after that, and it is the same. All the CSS is on the same level. That's the reason it is getting overridden. There is another example I would like to show you. Let's say we can create some examples like okay, let's go before the paragraph, and yeah, here we see let's add a class over here. Class will say description, right? DESC description. So description will use, and here we'll write, here we'll add the specificity. We'll say DESC description, and we'll say the color yellow. Save. Now go and check this thing out. Reload, and you can see the color of this text is yellow, and this text is yellow, but the first line is still green. It's because this has higher weight. This has the higher precedence compared to this one, right? And also if you apply the font size will say, let's say the font size is 30 pixel, and let's reload, and it is going to work, right? So the font size work because you haven't given the font size before in the previous existing element. In these two you haven't given and the font size, but you have given font size over here. That's why it has given the font size to the paragraphs, right? So it has higher weight compared to the others, right? So whenever this kind of thing happen, you're writing CSS and that CSS is not getting applied, it means the CSS, the weight of that particular CSS is lower than what you have written already, right? Also when we write something as a descendant and children, right? When I'm writing something like the compare example, here if I say DSC, and inside this we have a paragraph, right? Let's comment this code so we can see the better example. Paragraph -1, right? And here we're gonna say paragraph, and here I'm gonna say the color, and here I'm gonna say the color is blue, right? Let's reload this. Now the color is blue for this, but not for this. Okay, that's para. Let's remove this para, just para, save and reload this. And you can see the color of this paragraph is in blue, right? Now the color is blue, right? Now if I will show you something like, if I'll say P paragraph P tag, so I'm using the type selector, and here I'll say the color that is going to be the orange, and let's save this. Let's go and reload, and you see the orange color is there, right? So this one has the blue color. It's because of it is coming after that, right? And other text has the orange color. It's because the CSS precedence, right? CSS specificity, all of them has the like color, right? So this is called the CSS specificity. So this is about the CSS specificity. Now if I want for the what if I want this lorem is also be blue color instead like, what if I want this lorem, this blue color, and it should be orange? So I can force this, I can increase the precedence of this, and I can increase the specificity of this paragraph. I will simply say important, right? I'll add the keyword important, and I will reload this, and you see now this color is also orange. So if you add this keyword important, now the specificity of this will be higher than this. Okay, so this has a blue color. Now we have given a higher specificity by using this important keyword. Okay, this is how specificity works, right? Next we have, next we need to understand spacing, right? So spacing.html. So here we are file spacing.html, and again we're going to create an HTML file, the HTML document. Now here in this document, we are going to understand the spacing, right? So I will simply add two paragraphs to understand the spacing. We'll say lorem to add the text content. I will repeat this lorem, copy, and one more time, repeat, save. So I have my text, right? So here you can see I've got my text. Both the texts are there, and by default there are some spacing, right? So the yellow space shows some spacing. If you click on that, you can see there is a spacing. The display is block. Margin block is start 1 em. That's a unit CSS, and so there are some margin applied over that. If you want to remove that margin, then you have to forcefully remove that. But I want to show you the spacing, how we can work with spacing, right? I'll simply say p tag, and I will create a width for it. So let's say width is 300 pixel, and I also want to say the display property, change the display property. Instead of block, I want to say inline block, right? Inline block, and let's save this, and let's go and reload this thing. So you see now it is coming in inline block, so it has both the features. It has inline feature as well as it has block feature. Okay, so inline block is there. Now what we're going to do, we will also apply the background color to this. Here's the background color are orange. Save, and let's reload. Now we have the background color. Now we have the background color also, orange color, right? So now it's time to understand the spacing, right? If I will say margin from, instead of margin I will say padding. So padding creates an spacing. I will say 20 pixel, right? So 20 pixel, if I say 20 pixel, it means from top, from left, from bottom, from right. So it will apply 20 pixel from all sides. Let's reload the content, and you see the spacing is clearly visible, right? So the spacing top say 20 pixel and bottom 20 pixel, left, right 20 pixel, all of them 20 pixel, right? This is how we apply the spacing in the content, right? Now if I want to apply spacing in different proportion, like from top 20 pixel, from right 5 pixel, from bottom 10 pixel, from left 40 pixel. Okay, save, and so it will apply in that proportion, right? As you can see, the left is much higher. Left side there's a lot of space, that's a 40 pixel. Top 20 pixel, right side 5 pixel, bottom side 10 pixel. This is how we apply the spacing, right? Now if you do the same thing with margin, let's comment this page, right? Save and reload. Now all spacing gone. The same way margin works, but the difference you see, if I'll say the 20 pixel margin from top left, top right, bottom left, and reload this page, you see the margin applied, but it is out of the content, right? It is not considering the actual content. The identity, you see the background color, the background color orange is starting exactly from the edges of the content, right? So margin 20 pixel applied, but it is from out of the content, right? So you have to understand this part. Again, the same feature, it has the 4 properties, like you can apply different margin from all different sites, right? Save, go, and you see there is a difference. You can't see the difference actually. Fine. And also there is a shortcut, right? There is a shortcut, both works for margin and padding. Let's say if I want to apply margin from top and bottom 20 pixel, and from left right 40 pixel. Okay, save, and let's reload, and you see the top and bottom 20 pixel, and from left right 40 pixel applied. So this is how the first one is top and bottom, the second one is left right. Okay, this is how we can apply the spacing. Also I want the same works with the margin, right? Two properties. So this is all about spacing, right? There is one more property that comes with padding, that's a box sizing. So right now what's happening, when I'm giving padding top bottom 20 pixel, left right 40 pixel, it is increasing the size of your container. Right now I have given a container size of 300 pixel, but because of the padding, the width becomes, if I will calculate, that's a 40 pixel from left and 40 pixel from right, in total 80 pixel. Now the total width is 380 pixel, right? If I don't want that behavior, I will have to say box hyphen sizing, that's border box. This is the value of the property. Reload and see, now there is a difference. Now the width is exactly with 300 pixel, and the spacing is also applied. So basically the internal width got decreased, and this is the expected behavior. So this is how everything works with the spacing, right? Now so this was all about the spacing. Now we are going to understand positioning, right? So I would like to show you some article for that, plus, and then create I have a bookmark. So here, how positioning works in CSS, right? So position CSS property sets how an element is positioned in a document, right? So when you use position, it gives you four other properties like top, right, bottom, left. You can control the flow of the element, right? We see the values. What are the default values for the position? So the default value for the position is static, and with the static position, you cannot apply the top, right, bottom, left, and z index property. It will have no effect on it, right? Apart from that, there are value properties like values like relative, absolute, and fixed. So these are the most widely used values. So what it does, the element is positioned according to the normal flow of the document, right? If you use a relative property, then your element will be with the flow of the document. But if you use the position if you use the position absolute, then your element will not be with the flow of the document, right? So as it is written over here, element is removed from the normal document flow, and no space is created for the element, and no space will be created for the element, right? So here we are going to see some example of it. Let's create a file for it. Position.html, and here we're going to say html colon 5. So for this example, we are going to create a div or a box. We'll say class that is going to be box, and save it. And here we'll say box. We're going to have width that is 100 pixel, height that is again 100 pixel, and the background that is going to be in orange, and that's enough. Save it. By default, the position of that element is static and has no effect. Static is as having or not having it makes no effect, right? And you cannot have other properties with like top, bottom, left, right, and z index, right? So this is the thing with the position static. But right, if you apply the position relative, now you're gonna see the difference. Relative and save, and here we're gonna say top 100 pixel and left 100 pixel, right? Save, and just reload this thing, and you see the top 100 pixel and left 100 pixel. And if we are using position to create a space, then you see the difference. If I'm hovering over the body, right, so you can see the same amount of space has got created for the box. That it is almost like 100 pixel in height, and the same amount of space has created within this body element. But the box itself is out of the body. It's because we have given top 100 and left 100, right? But it is within the document flow. It is within the document flow. As per the definition, if you see, the element is positioned according to the normal flow of the document, right? And if you see the absolute, the element is removed from the an element basically will be removed from the normal flow of the document. So I'll change this to absolute, right? Absolute, and see the difference. If I reload this thing, reload, and here the no difference, right? But if you go and hover over the body, you see body is not acquiring any space. Body has not created, document has not created any space for the box, right? If you hover over this document, see there is just yellow line with the default margin from the body, and the box is having that width and height from top, left from the top and left it has 100 pixel, but body is not creating any space for the element itself. And definitely I cannot explain more than this in this starting video, but we will see a lot of great examples in the upcoming videos with the position, right? So this was all about position, relative, and absolute. And the fixed position, if you want to see, uh, here I'm going to say, let's remove this thing, say bottom, and I will say from bottom it is going to be like 10 pixel, or let's say 100 pixel. Save, and let's reload. And this is, it is bottom, it has an 100 pixel from the bottom. And if I will create paragraphs like lorem paragraph, right? Let me repeat this paragraph 100 times. So this is the paragraph I have created. Let's save this. Let's go and let's reload your content. And you see, we have got a paragraph. We have got a scroll in our content, but as we have given from bottom 100 pixel, and if you are scrolling, this box is going up. That is one thing we can fix with the position fix. So what we have to do, we have to apply position fixed instead of absolute. So it will always be in that position instead of moving up and down on the scroll, right? So let's reload this thing again, and now reload your content. Content is not going to make any effect. This is in this box is always will be in its position. Even how much you scroll, it doesn't make any effect on it, right? Now another if property we're going to see, that's a z index. So as you can see, the box is on the top of the text, right? If you want this box to go behind this position, absolute, relative, and fixed, give access to another property, that's a z index, where let's say a -1, or let's say the 0. Save and reload this page, and the 1 0 is not making difference. Let's say the -1. Save and let's reload. So you can see the lorem ipsum text is above the box, right? So you scroll, all the text will be above the box. It's because of z index. Whenever you use z index, it creates a new stack for the elements, and you have an opportunity to modify the stacking of the elements, right? So like this, you can have multiple elements, and based on the z index values, like if you specify 1 2 3 4, it will be in that order, right? So we'll learn more about z-index as well in the upcoming videos with the project examples, right? The next thing we are going to learn about units and colors, right? So let's go and check out this document, bookmarks, and here we have the CSS values and units. So basically there are two types of unit we can use in CSS, and those are absolute length unit and relative length units. So in absolute length unit, if you see this, there are different units like centimeter, mm, q, quarter millimeter, inches, picus. I even don't know what is the difference. Picus, points, and pixels, right? So the most widely used unit in this absolute length unit are pixel, and this absolute length units will always be in the same size. Whatever the screen size, it doesn't matter, the size will always be same in case of absolute length unit. And most of the time widely used units are pixel. And there is another unit that's a relative length units. In the relative length unit, the examples are em, ex, ch, rem, 1h, vw, vh, vmin, vmax. So the most widely used in this relative unit lengths are rem, rem, vw, that's a width, viewport width, and vh, viewport height. Okay, so one that's an important one, viewport width. When you say 1%, as you can say 1% viewport width, it means first of all you need to understand what's a viewport. So the currently visible screen on my screen, right? So currently visible area on my screen are actually the viewport, right? The part which is hidden, if I will scroll and see those part, right? So the part which are hidden, not the part of the viewport, but only the currently visible screen will be the part of the viewport. That's what we call viewport. And the widely used units are em, rem, and vw, viewport, and vh, height. We're going to see the example of it, right? So here we have an example. Let me open this example in a special place. Okay, so let's understand this example with this simple HTML code, right? So here we have a div with the class wrapper, and then we have a common class box, right? For the obviously for the colors, background colors, and border color. Then we have additional class px, vw, em, right? And then we have text, right? So this wrapper, we have given a wrapper font size of 1 em, right? So font size is 1 em, and then we have given this, we have used this class px, and we have given a width of 200 pixel, right? In this case, you can see I am 200 pixel width. This is for this container. This container has a width of 200 pixel. This container has a width of 10 VW, means 10% of the viewport, and this container has a width of 10 EM, right? So the interesting part is this is in pixel, this is an absolute length unit, and whatever the size of the window, this is not going to change, the first one. But the second one is the relative length unit, so it depends on its parent. it depends on its ancestor container. When the size of the parent container changes, then this container will be changed. So it is going to be helpful in responsive design. And the last one, the 10em width, right? The width of this container depends on the width of the parent container, because it has a width of 10em and the parent has a width has a font size of 1em. So when we will change the font size, then this width also change, right? This width will also be changed. So here let's take an example of I'm making it 2em, right? So as you can see, the size of this container is increasing, but this container is as usual 200 pixel, and even this one is same because the parent width is not changed, right? Again, I'm gonna change this to like 4, and you see now it is going out of this container. But still, when I'm changing the font size, this 10em is getting larger in size, right? So this width depends on this font size, right? Helpful in creating responsive design. And this is again 200 pixel absolute length unit, no change in the design, no change in the width. And this is 10. When the size of the container will change, then only this will change. If you want to see, let's make it 1em, and let's go and inspect. Now let's change the size of this window, right? As you can see, the size of middle container is getting changed, but the absolute length unit is not getting changed, because that will always be same whatever the size of the container. And the 10em, the last container will size will depends on the font size of the parent container, right? So as you see, the size, the middle container size is getting changed. So this was the viewport height, the viewport width, right? So absolutely great, right? The next thing we are going to understand colors, right? So there are different colors we can create, right? Here you see the background color is we have given orange, right? So this is the naming color code, right? You can also use the hex code. So you can find hex code for any color in the Google, right? You just do the Google and you can get the hex code for that. So here, let's say I want to use a hex color code for that, 333. So this is kind of like black type of color, and you go and reload this thing, and you see now this is a black color, right? So we can use the hex code. Apart from hex code, we have RGB, red, green, blue, with opacity A alpha. So this is like a function, and it takes 3 parameters. So the range of each parameters start from 0 and till 255, right? 0 means white, 255 means I think 0 means black. Let's try that. 0 0 0, and here we can say 1. Yeah, so start from 0, and when red, green, blue are zeros, then it will be a black color. You can change the proportion of the color, and you can create any random color with that. If you say 255, that is going to be white. And also you can change the transparency of this alpha, that is 0.5, then it will be a little bit transparent. So you see this is little bit of transparent, right? The background white is visible from this. If you increase this thing like 8, you can see the more transparency. Oh, sorry. If you make it like 3, you can see the more transparency, right? So it's like much more transparent, right? So this was all about colors. So now finally we are in the end of this video, right? We have seen so many things, like how we can create the layout for our HTML document, how we can use different types of CSS selectors. We have seen what is specificity, and we have seen position, and we have also seen how we can adjust the spacing around the elements, right? The last thing we're going to see, that's also very important. So if you create the whole website, but if you miss that line, then it will be quest if you're creating a responsive design, right? So let me show you. So most of the time we have seen this document, right? And within this document, you're going to see this line. This is a meta tag, right? So this meta tag name is viewport, right? So basically, I have already told you what's a viewport. Viewports is basically the visible screen, right? Ignore the part which is not visible. Only the visible part are the viewport, right? And it has a content with equals to device width. It means when we launch our web page to a mobile device or any kind of screen size, and if there is a line width equals to device width, it means it is going to take the same width, whatever the width of the screen. Let's say the width of the screen is 460 pixel, then our whole website width will be 460 pixel, right? If width is 300 pixel of the device, then whole website width will be 300 pixel, right? And this line is useful only in case of responsive design. right? Let's say your website is not responsive. You have created your website for the large screens, right? Then this line is not required. You can remove this line, otherwise it will be a problem. Next attribute, you can see after the comma the initial scale 1.0. That means you are preventing zooming out in within the device, right? And I actually don't know much how these things work truly, but if you want your website to be responsive, just add this line, then your website will be responsive, right? And if your website is not responsive, then don't add this line. And another important thing, we're gonna see some of the meta tags like meta oh sorry meta name is going to be like author, right? So author is basically like who is the author of the page, right? You can specify the name of the author, or you can say the content equals to author is Muhammad Rizwan Khan, right? Author of this page is this guy. There's another meta tag, name equals to description. So this is very important meta tag, is going to help you in is going to help Google crawler to rank this page properly on the internet, right? So here you can specify tags like HTML, comma, CSS, comma, learn HTML, comma, training video. So many tags you can add in this description part, right? So this is what I wanted to specify: author, description, and report. And I hope this will be enough. And yeah, there is a one more thing I would like to mention. So here you see, till now we have created internal style sheet, right? So if you want to add a external style sheet, you simply create a file with a CSS extension like style.css, and this is the example of external style sheet. What we have to do, we have to add this style sheet in our document. Let's take an example of this spacing.html file, and here we're going to say after this title document, simply use the link tag and with an attribute relation style sheet. And what's the relation? That's an style sheet. And here we're going to simply say style.css, and then the connection has done. What we can do, we can put some style over here. So we can say body, and we'll say background, or no, not orange, let's say yellow. Okay, let's save this and let's go to the browser. So here you can see the background color is yellow. Like this, if you have large style sheet, you can create your separate style sheet, and you can add all of the styles in the external style sheet, right? Likewise, we have an option of adding internal style. So simply do style equals to double quotes, and you put anything what you want. Let's say you want to say the text background color will be uh, pink. Text background color will be pink, semicolon. So this is how we can add the inline style, right? Let's go over here and let's reload, and you can see the inline the background color of this text is pink now, right? So this is how we can use inline styling. I hope you are gonna like this video, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Share this with your friends who wants to become a web developer, who wants to understand the basic fundamentals of web design and web development, right? So thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Bye.